Good morning. Make sure the microphone's on. Okay, I found this interesting. I know I haven't been around for a while, but you know, nothing interesting. High pressure oil leaks on 6.0s, and I've been kind of busy. But anyway, this came in. Customer had it towed in, no move. 2015 F350, 6.7 diesel, 6R 140 torque shift. Uh, no forward or reverse. So nothing happened in there. So of course, checked the fluid, did all the checks, pushed it in here, did the pressure tap on the side of the transmission and all the gear ranges. Looked at the chart, everything was perfect. My pressures were perfect. On the mechanical gauge. Um, so now it's time to tear into it and see what's going on there. Fluid wasn't burned. I mean, it was used, but it wasn't burned. Not a lot of metal in the pan on the magnet. Not a lot of clutch material. A little bit of black in the bottom, like would be normal when you do a service on one of these. So first thing I do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to refamiliarize myself or familiarize myself to how this thing works mechanically and hydraulically. How does this thing move? What's the what clutches apply when you know going from reverse to forward to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how all that works. And um, anyway, I tore it down, pulled the pump out of it, uh, pulled the yarded the gear train out, used floor crane on it like you're supposed to because this crap's heavy. um, and um, I stacked up my because I wasn't sure what I was going to do here. Am I going to are we doing a complete overhaul? I mean, this thing's pretty damn nice inside. So I went ahead as I was tearing it down. I was checking my clutch clearances up here, my forward and my directs, and they were in spec. And if you look at them, hell, they barely even have any wear on them. So, and this transmission is only 2 years old. Not sure of the mileage on it, but it was put in 2 years ago. It was a box unit from Ford. So nothing wrong with any of this stuff. We can reuse uh, all these, and everything will go out and live a long, happy life. So I was having an issue with my sealing rings here. So I went ahead and replaced them as I was air testing everything. And by the way, on this forward, I call it the forward drum. I mean, it's called the forward 1, 2, 3 direct. I mean, a lot of magic happens in this drum here. So, but for simplification, I just call it the forward drum. We were getting some cross leakage on the center sealing ring here. So, that tells me that we probably have some bushings worn out because I did check there's a planetary and it has a selectable spacer ring that rides right here, and that kind of sets the depth on everything. From here back, your end play and between that and the center support. But this thing, it's got a bearing that sits on the top of this that when you have it all put together, that holds everything up in position. So, but anyway, so we're gonna replace these two bushings in here. There's a couple of bushings in there, and we're going to replace this bushing in the pump here. But other than that, we're just going to put some new rubber seals on our pistons, our ply pistons, direct piston, and or I believe that is the forward. Yeah, that's the forward piston right there, and this is the direct piston. And then we have some. They call these balance pistons, and these are really thin. So um, you don't want to air test this thing without any elements loaded into it with snap rings because you may get these all cockeyed in there if they go too far and then they get jammed in there, and you got to be really careful with that. They said not to put more than 40 psi air pressure when you're air testing them, but whatever. So, um, also there is an O-ring on this. This is the balance plate for the direct clutch, I believe. Forward clutch. There's an O-ring on there that seals when you engage the planetary in here. It seals around the inside of the planetary gear. I don't know why they do that because there's no hydraulic function in there that I could see, but yeah, maybe it'll make sense later. Maybe there is. It might have. No, I don't. I don't think. Anyway, don't get sidetracked here. Anyway, no big deal. What we found here was our input shaft had separated from the, which is what I suspected. But anyway, it separated from the forward ring gear here and the overdrive clutch drum. It's welded in there on the clutch drum side, and it's not much of a weld. I mean, it's pretty small, and there so you're relying basically because all the torque that comes through the motor has to go through this ring gear here. That's what makes all the monkey motion happen in this. So all your load and torque, you're relying on that little weld. So I went ahead and bought a new one. I mean, this one there's nothing wrong with other than this. You could probably, if a guy was good enough, he could weld that in there, and it feels like it would fit straight. But anyway, we bought a new one. We have a thrust roller that goes on this surface right here, but we do have plenty of room to put a bead around here on the ring gear side of this with TIG weld it, and that's what we're doing. We're having that done, so it'll be permanently attached, so it won't come apart. The ring gear and the clutch drum are actually welded together. I mean, I didn't find anything out there where these separate, but I suppose if you'd have to put a hell of a lot of torque on it for that to happen. For this to happen, for that to come loose, I mean, that makes sense because, all they had was, I mean, there wasn't much welding going on there at all. I mean, I can't even, yeah, I see only, well, there it was penetrated. There it was. I mean, hell, it wasn't even penetrated on this shaft. That's a pretty bad weld on there. So it's amazing that it lasted as long as it did. So the other thing too is this was a box transmission from Ford. So whoever their suppliers are there. I mean, if you'll notice, this is only a 4 pinion, in a diesel, and as far as I know, the diesel's supposed to have the 6. So I guess it's use whatever you have to put it together and get it in the box and get it out. So that's why I don't really like the box units. They come with an okay warranty. Longer than, I mean, I think they warranty them for 2 years. GM, they'll warranty them for 3 years, which I don't know of any independent transmission shops that could do that because they're not a big, huge corporation. And then you're relying on the quality of the crap that comes in the box. The clutch material and your sealing rubber and all that stuff. So anyway, that was kind of a sidetrack there. But so what we're going to do here, we're going to inspect these really well, make sure we don't have any burrs or anything on the piston after we get rubber out of them, and we're going to reassemble all of this, our magic drum here, after we put our bushings in there, and then we'll stack everything up. And as we're stacking it, when we can, we'll go ahead and check our clearance again and our seal. Make sure that we have our thud when we're air checking this thing, and then we'll have that this all assembled, and we'll roll it over and drop it in the transmission with the cherry picker, and then we'll put the pump on it, and then we'll do some air checks. Then we'll drop the converter back in it with the cherry picker, of course, and then put some oil in her and throw her back in. We'll flush out the transmission cooler too. I did drain the case, for a couple of days here. Had it in a direction where it would drain all the old oil out of it. Our clutches back here, our low reverse and our direct clutches, they look great from what I can see. I didn't pull them out and inspect them, but they're working nice. So I'm not. I mean, it looks like we have plenty of clutch material on them. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to pull that center support out. I'm going to go ahead and look at them, and we'll go ahead and throw some. We'll throw some new rubber in there, and yeah, we'll do it right. Well, yeah, we'll do it right. So let me get all that done real quick, and I'll come back on some of the final assembly here. Okay, so I wanted to show you this, truck owners with these transmissions. This is the new one. See that weld there? See that right there? I mean, I don't know if this is robot welded or what, but you need to kick the robot in the ass. Um, this is a ticking time bomb. So what? I mean, I already said we were going to send this over. We're going to send this over because we have plenty of room. We're going to weld this shaft to the ring gear as well. Like I said, they're welded together. So we want to give this thing every chance of being abused. That's just ridiculous. So over here, let's take a closer look at this. I can see that we got, well, it's kind of hard to tell because this did spin in there. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think they got a very good weld on there. It sure isn't that's, it isn't strong enough. That did spin, so yeah, I don't think we got that. That's just not a good weld. That isn't good enough. That's an absolute ticking time bomb. This is it's pretty bad. I mean, this is your input shaft here, hooks to the torque converter. The torque converter drives this through this ring gear. This is your overdrive clutch that's in this drum right here. It drives this. I mean, the whole load of the truck, every pound you're pulling, every bit of torque is on that little weld right there, which is, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. But anyway, it is a ticking time bomb in all of the trucks. This is a brand new shaft, and it's, I mean, there is no way in God's green earth I am going to put that in there without having the other side at least welded. That'll give it a chance, Yeah, this is pretty bad. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Alrighty, so we got our gear train installed. Let's go ahead and air check this thing. Sounds good. Sounds good. That's the converter. Shit, I can't get a good. Yeah, that's sealing up. Let's see, intermediate clutches here. Perfect. Watch blow that rubber out. Our dynamic or static low reverse here. Yeah, I blew that rubber out of there. Yep, she's working. Put that rubber seal back in there. Okay, so we're going to put the valve body on it, and we'll drop the converter in it, put the bracket on the converter, get it loaded on the, get the transfer case back on it. This thing's just a monster, and we'll get under there, we'll flush the cooler out, and get this thing installed, and then we'll go through and see if it works. Sounds like everything's going to work, and I don't think we're having any issues with our solenoid or our valve body. It all looked in good shape. No dirt or debris in it, and it worked until that shaft broke. So if it doesn't work, it's going to be my fault. But I think we did a good job here. Replaced some bushings. We reused our clutches because there was nothing wrong with them. We replaced some rubber. I pulled the low reverse out, and I put new rubber, the center support and all that. I put new rubbers in the pistons back there. So we are all in good shape, and we'll get this thing back in the truck and get it back on the road. So anyway, this is a 2012. I was working on a 2015 at the same time, and I kind of got my years confused, but obviously this is a 2012. Anyway, we got the transmission back in it. It's just need to check the fluid a final time. We already ran it on the up in the air, and everything seems to be working, so we're going to get it down on the ground and go do the test drive on it, and we'll put a few miles on it and make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I did check the numbers on the valve body and in the TCM, and they are the same, so they did get that program. So, which I didn't know, just wanted to make sure. So we'll get that done, get this thing down, get it out in the in the real world, and give it a good test drive, and then we can ship this out of here. But I'm going to call this 100% success. So thanks for watching.